Hey, what's going on, guys? Indy here with Ultimate Tour Reviews, and this is an interesting review here. So I've bought tons of, Makita tools over the years, and this is the first one I've ever gotten that failed rather quickly. I would actually probably say it actually was dead out of the box. You're wondering why I've got two of these boxes on my table here. Well, it's because I got one in, and it obviously went bad. And so I contacted Makita, which they're honestly really, really good. Their new e-repair thing that they have now is absolutely fantastic. So they said, hey, don't send anything with it. Just send the item with it, and we'll get that repaired, send it to you back. No big deal. And what was happening with it is that when I would go to turn it on, click anything, the light would flash, which is going to be right there on it. And it would just flash, and that was it. It wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't spool up, wouldn't heat up. No fan started. Just that's it. And I tried different batteries, of course. Nothing there. I called up Makita, said, hey, am I doing something wrong? Like, is there another safety switch in this thing that I am not clicking properly? And they said, nope, it sounds like it's totally bad to us. Send it back in, and there you go. So that is what I did, and I was really curious what was actually wrong with it. And Makita, believe it or not, just sent me a whole brand new one and everything. So they sent me a whole new case, whole new box, and everything. So this is the new one here. I got two cases, which I'm probably going to repurpose this one for something to do with a SDF, something like that. But anyways, this one here is finally working now. So I actually had this ordered, I think, like over a month ago, and I kind of just putting on this review for a little bit here. This thing is significantly lighter than you think it's going to be. It's really, really light, which is really cool. You do, of course, get a bunch of different tips for this as well, which I'm not really sure what that one is super useful for, but you get this nice, kind of thin one here. This one is going to be great, of course, for doing anything when it comes to like heat shrink stuff on like cables. That is awesome. And of course, you got more of just a concentrated tip here as well. Full manual in there. There is two different model numbers. They have the XGH02 and the XGH01. Trust me, you don't want to buy the one. The big difference there is going to be that you actually have adjustable heat settings on there. So definitely get the two. It's going to give you more options, as well as the one has that the two has the speed settings as well. It's just going to give you a bit more flexibility. And of course, they do have a kit for this as well. So you can actually have two batteries in here, battery here, battery stays on the tool. And this, of course, is where the charger goes. And oh, actually, there's a third battery spot right here. So that's kind of cool. 3 battery slots technically go in here. These things do burn batteries, which if you read this on here, 30 minutes of continuous runtime, there's a bit of an asterisk on that one because right here, 20 minutes of runtime on high with a 6 amp hour battery. Now, I don't actually have any 6 amp hour batteries. I know, shocking, I'm the big Makita guy, I got tons of Makita tools. They don't sell 6 amp hour batteries, at least here in the States, with anything in a kit. As far as I'm aware, I have not seen any. And if you know Makita stuff, you know that the 6 amp hour battery is going to be your most, faked battery out there, the most common counterfeit Makita item out there. So of course I haven't bought one, I don't want to buy any of the cheap ones on eBay because I'm pretty sure most of those are counterfeit. And I'm not going to spend, the almost $300 for the 2-pack of those anyways. So of course I've just got the usual 5 amp hour batteries. And yeah, it does work actually pretty solid. There is a actual lock-on switch for this, which is nice. Let's turn this to speed 2. We'll just put this thing all the way on high. Really funny on the back here, it's got this little thing here with like an unlock, or lock and unlock thing. It's really actually like kind of satisfying to click this thing. I'm not really sure what I would use that for exactly, but it's kind of cool. So we'll let this thing heat up here, and let's power this thing on and see how this thing looks. There we go, getting red in there already, nice. Yeah, definitely getting pretty hot there pretty quick. It's really not that much airflow compared to, say, like a larger one. And what I mean by a larger one is I have had this Mac Tools one in my tool chest here for, man, gotta be going on 10 years now. This thing works absolutely phenomenal. I got this thing actually at a pawn shop here, and it was marked up from 25 to 20. I bought a couple other tools with it, got this thing for $10. And this thing has worked absolutely phenomenal. Now, as much as I want to say, hey, let's do the comparison between a corded one and a cordless one, it's no comparison. This thing will put out significantly more heat, significantly, more, airflow than the cordless one. So if you really want, if you have a spot for a cord, it's no comparison at all. I tried this out, the corded one just demolishes the cordless options. All right, so we got the heat gun rolling here. Let's find out how hot this thing is actually getting. I got the new Cobalt heat sensor here, so this thing's actually pretty nice. Let's find out here. I'm trying to get right at the top on that metal there to give me an accurate measurement. You kind of get near the center here, it just jumps all over the place there. There we go, just hit over 500, nice. All right, so we've been on now for about 4 minutes, and it's still on now. Is it getting hot up here? It's just warm, actually. I'm actually surprised it's not hotter here. Getting a little hot here, nice and cool back here. So, okay, that's not too bad. For just 4 minutes, we already burned 1 bar on a 5 amp hour battery. Yeah, this thing is definitely going to be a battery hog. Let's try the same thing with the corded one. All right, so on my corded one, I had about 360 to 380 max temp. Now this thing is probably going on 15, 20 years old. It's definitely putting out a lot more airflow than the Makita, but the Makita is definitely hitting higher temps. Obviously it's a newer heating element in there. So that is kind of interesting to see from that test. The cordless one honestly is great for heat shrink stuff and anything else you really need to have for, heating stuff up. But even on speed 2, I mean, this is a pretty weak fan there. Let me grab something to show you here. Okay, here's some little tissue here. I got 4 basically folded up a couple times. Check this out. You can see just how weak that airflow is here. And we are on speed 2. That's speed 1. I mean, this is speed 1. It's barely moving any air there. It's definitely really, really weak. Here's speed 2 again. And let's see, can we actually light this thing on fire? I'm kind of curious. I mean, I'm sure we can. This thing gets well over 1,000 degrees. Let's see what we can do here. This is totally real time here, guys. Not changing any speed settings or anything here. This thing has not been preheated or anything. As much as you see me use this right now, that's all it's doing at this moment. Oh, is it catching a little bit? Nope. A little bit there. So a little bit there. You can see that was real time, kind of catching a little bit. Let me show you guys the corded one anyways here and show you just the absolute massive difference this thing has. And this thing isn't even remotely close to being new. It's only got, 2 speed settings low, which honestly, low on this thing is already significantly faster than high. Or significantly faster than the high on this. And this thing is, again, guys, I'm set to max heat, max fan on this thing. It's pretty weak. And here's high, quite a bit more force there. This is low. All right, so let me show you guys this one. I'll put this thing on high. Let's see how we can just, see if we can get this thing burning or what happens to this thing in about the same amount of time. Almost putting out too much air here to keep this thing straight. There we go. We got a little bit of burn marks there. So yeah, the corded ones, they definitely run circles around the cordless ones. But that's not to say that, this is a totally useless tool by any means. Of course, being able to put out, very, hot air like this out of a heat gun like this is super handy to have. And of course, having a case like this will definitely keep it a lot safer there. So, if you guys are using I'd say this is great for a light to mid-duty use on this thing, not like heavy duty where you want a corded one. Of course, having a balance here. And I'm honestly a little surprised they did not go full XGT with this one. This thing with a big, 5 amp hour XGT battery, this thing would really put out some, huge amount of heat really, really quick. Could it match, a corded one? I don't know, maybe. But at the end of the day, it's honestly a pretty cool little heat gun. Let's try to get one of these little connections on here. I do know that it's got that little thing to get them off, which is awesome. So there we go. They just pop right on. Make sure to not grab these after you've been using it, because these will get super hot. So you definitely want to watch that with anything with heat guns, of course. That's always a nice thing to keep in mind with safety. So is this, of course, a nifty little tool to have? I think so. I think it's definitely got some really cool uses. If I'm doing anything like mechanical, I need to do some heat shrink tubing. This thing would actually be awesome to do. Anything around the trucks right now, that is awesome. Does it replace a corded heat gun, though? Absolutely not. You're going to be flying through batteries with this thing. If you're using this thing, nonstop, doing a ton of stuff. Is it putting out anywhere near the amount of, air as a corded one? No way. This thing does not really compare to a corded one. It's basically just like, are you trading convenience for, of course, power? Which one do you want? Convenience and portability or power? There you go. You got two options there. That's really about it. Do I think this thing is worth the price Makita is asking for it? Honestly, the build quality on this thing, the fact that I actually got one in and it was already dead out of the box, and even the guy on the phone who was talking to a Makita, he kind of didn't even seem surprised. Of course, they're probably not ever going to admit that it's like, hey, we're getting a bunch of these failing. They're probably never going to actually admit that, knowing Makita. But for how light these things feel, they just don't really. It doesn't have like a really nice, overall feel like you would expect from Makita. And let me give you an example of what I mean. Here is a Makita XGT. This is going to be just a 1/2-inch impact. Now, you can feel this thing. It's got, the nice bumpers on it. It's got a really nice feel in the hand. This feels like really good quality material. The grip is fantastic. Now, you look at this and you think, oh yeah, it's probably the same grip. It just feels cheaper, in my opinion. There's something about it. It feels so light. It's just very odd for Makita. For what they're asking for this tool and what it, overall feel like, the build quality, there's really not, a lot of like rubber bumpers on here. I would expect this to be maybe a bit more, metal, you could say. How long is this thing going to last, in, heating up super hot, letting it cool down? Is this thing ever going to melt if I run this thing 3-4 batteries, I just don't know. It doesn't feel like Makita's usual qualities. When it comes to the overall quality of a lot of Makita tools, you pick up a Makita tool, you can tell that this is a really high-end, well-built tool. The heat gun, not so much, in my opinion. Is it a bad tool? No. But I think, though, that there are possibly better options out there for this tool, and the fact that I've already had one failure with this tool already, I don't know. It kind of leaves me feeling just a little bit lukewarm about the Makita, LXT heat gun. I think they need to go back to the drawing board and kind of redo this tool a bit here, make it a little more substantial, give it some higher speed settings on that fan there, and that's going to be about it, guys. Honestly, I'm just kind of lukewarm on this heat gun. Comparing it to a 10-year-old corded one that I've got that just runs circles on this thing, and I know it's it's battery versus corded, big difference there, but I would expect by now we were having something a bit more worth the price with this thing. So that's kind of my thoughts on this, guys, my 2 cents on this. And I'm kind of just going to leave it at that. If Makita comes up with a new model, definitely love to see it. But yeah, overall this thing, just lukewarm. If you really need a portable heat gun, you're big in the Makita lineup, here you go. But it's definitely not, kind of the shining quality that Makita usually makes for their tools. So that's what I've got for you guys. And take care. Stay safe out there.